Hi everyone and welcome to Rage Print. I'm Andy and this is episode 2 of our BB8 build. I know, a BB8 episode. After 1 whole year, I know. Amazing, eh? So in this episode we're actually going to be talking about the electronics and the drive. Originally when I did the first episode I said that we wouldn't be talking about the drive because we covered it in Droid Builders UK in 2020. However, since then I have decided to modify the drive, mainly to improve performance and reliability issues that I found. And while I was at it, I thought, let's avoid the issues I have with R2. Let's put into RC. So the intention was to use Padawan SHADOW, which uses the PS3 navigation controller. And I'm now going to be using RC. Same RC controller that we control on Chopper. So I can't control both at the same time. So while I was buying the receiver for Chopper, which is an FR Sky X8R, and that has the S-Bus connection that does the magic to the Kyber board. In the "You may also like to purchase" section, there was an S8R. What does an S8R do? So I clicked into it and it went, stabilization for gyrocopters and that sort of thing. I thought, okay. So I bought one. Now, I had another watch of a video Dave Alvarez did a while back, or when he did his BB8 V2 drive, and he added something similar, but it was a separate box. Does a stabilization, but I thought doing it on the receiver might be a better idea. Less delay. So the idea would be that this would stabilize the headmast, or rather would use the headmast to do the stabilization, I have to say. So when the ball's rocking, the headmast moves to try and counteract the rock. Yeah, and I might, I don't know if it'll work, but I might be able to use the motors as well to do stabilization of the rocking. We'll see. So anyway, yeah, using that. Not quite sure how I'm going to do the sounds yet. I know they're going to go back into the body rather than the dome. And there'll be a Bluetooth connection from the body to the head to control the lights, as there is in the old version. Yeah. So I just got to work. It's going to be Arduino based. That's pretty much obvious. The question is, how do I trigger these things? Yeah. I suppose eventually it's going to be another Kyber board, isn't it? Really, I've got the controller with the buttons to do it. But I've got an S-Bus controller. It's going to be Kyber. I just can't afford another Kyber board at the moment. So in the meantime, interim solution. So yeah, not going to be a traditional build video, as in like with Chopper, where I'm showing you how I'm putting the thing together. This is going to be, here's the drive, this is what I've changed, this is why I've changed it. Next bit on, this is why I changed this bit, this is what I'm going to do to here, change it. And then hopefully by the end of it we'll have a drive that works. It won't be in the ball because the ball's not built, but you know, we might be able to get it to spin the wheels and move the headmast around, so that'll prove it's working. So yeah, why don't you join me and see how we get on. Right, okay, so here we are. On the version 1 of the drive, I had just these, and with the bar going through it, and the batteries would sit on here like so, and that way around. Batteries sit on here like so, and then I had these on top and a shed load of Velcro around it, and all the wiring for the harness and the motors, and it was just way too much. So they're gone, and I'll take the batteries back out. So we've still got the 2.5 kilo weight and the 1.5 kilo, 1.25 kilo weight. Now I've got this aluminium bar which is bent to hold the batteries in. And then this 3D printed block here that would stop the back. Let's put the battery back in. 3D printed block, and that gives the spacing for the motors. The bar stops the batteries moving back and forth along with the block. So let's put the other one back in. Okay, as you see, that stops, this altogether stops movement back and forth. And that will go on top of the frame. So I've got a nut here just holding that down, and that keeps that fairly tight. There is a bit of play because obviously the dumbbell weight is a hole that's like that big, and I've got like a little screw going through it. It's going to wiggle around. On the bottom, I've got a washer made out of styrene, leftover styrene from R2, and this is just a coach bolt. So the first, I don't know, first 5 centimeters or so, this is just there's no thread on it. So that's that. So to replace these, I've made these, and they just slot on over the top of the batteries like so. They'll give me mounting room for the electronics. So I don't know, saber tooth, and the, I don't know, for argument's sake, let's put the receiver there. So it's the mounting point for the electronics. These triangles here have a hole going through them, or they will have once I take the support out. They have a hole going through them, and okay, I might need to sort that out a bit. Anyway, they have a hole going through them, and the idea being that the Actobartics frame will screw into that, so that when you lift the frame off, these come off with it. It's a lot tighter than I realised. I might have to shave some of this away. But the idea being that will come off like that, move away, and then you've got access to the batteries, or to put it into the ball. So that's the plan so far. I've chopped these down. Sound that a bit. Chop these down to so they're the right height, and I'm relatively happy with that. So yeah, let me just clear all that away. I'm going to keep the wiring because some of it's going to be useful, but that's for the bin, and in all honesty, that's probably for the bin as well. I might keep some of it until I'm finished putting BB8 together, but I imagine it's for the bin. So yeah, I'll get the frame out next and we'll discuss that. Right, hopefully you can see this okay. It's not the easiest thing to try and get into a camera shot. So, just you can see myself recording me. Right, so this is the frame. This is a Ken Gorby, Dave Alvarez, Travis Wheeler hamster drive. There's so many people who have tried their own variations on it that it should really have its own name. And I think we should call it let's call it a Krayt Drive. Yeah, as in like the Krayt Dragon. Krayt Dragon? Yeah, Krayt Drive. I'm not sure what that says about how well it drives. It drives like a crate. Anyway, digression. Now, please bear in mind I bought a lot of these parts about 5 years ago, just before my oldest was born. That's how long BB8's really been not working properly. So I can't remember the exact pieces I bought. To be fair, if I just hold it in place long enough, you could pause it and work it out from the spaces of the bars and how many holes there are. And so, hang on. Yeah, and then under here. I should point out this bit I've actually chopped down. I bought it too big. So if you're going to copy this drive, you want you want something that's about that long. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 9 holes. Maybe even 8. 9 holes maximum. Put it that way. If it's any longer than that, then you're going to have to do it. I didn't chop it. So let's talk this through. There's 2 Robot Zone motors here, they're Planetary gear motors, and they're 165 RPM, and they run quite nicely at 12 volts, which is fine because that's what the batteries output. And then they're attached to these humongous Vex wheels. A lot of this needs tightening up, and that's going to be your tank drive. It's a tank drive like R2 and Chopper, so forward, backwards, and it's spinning in opposite directions gives you the turn. Moving up from there, you've got these stabilizing wheels that roll on the inside of the ball, and they stop that kind of movement, because otherwise all it's going to do inside the ball is just go up like that, and then the ball will roll. You don't want that. So there's different variations on this. Some people have used smaller wheels, and that's more that way. This is what I had to hand at the time. I might change it. Then this is the remote cross-off switch. So if I show you on the Shadow, you've got that. So you turn it on, turns the power on there, and brings power to the body. It's a way of turning power on without having to open the ball up. That's probably about the only thing I'm going to keep Velcroed on. Then you've got this bar here, which has got this gimbal. Oh, turn around so you can see it. It's got this green gimbal here. This is 3D printed. It's got a couple of bearings on that side and that side, and that supports this mast here. On top of this mast will be a what do you call it? A BMM, a body magnetic mount. So it's like a 4-pronged cup that has magnets on, and there's a corresponding one inside the body, inside the dome. And then that's hooked up to originally a 360, and now it's a MG996R, so it's only got 180 degrees of movement. Because I don't really think you need BB8 to spin its head all the way around. It'll confuse you when you try and drive it around because you won't know which way BB8 is actually facing if it's 360. And if I spin it around again, yeah, so moving up here. So attached to the headmast, we have this bracket and these struts here, which are attached to the servos. These servos are supposed to work in concert in a V-wing. If it's RC mode, this is V-wing. So as you want it to help, it tilts the headmast back. These servos are moving the right directions individually to push it back, push it forward, left. Move the head around basically. So as you tilt this around, the head on top moves correspondingly. This was a pain in the neck to code in Arduino on the Shadow, and in fact, actually, I had to press 2 different buttons to either make it go left or right or forward and back. I'm hoping with RC it would just be a case of move the stick around, the head, the mass moves around accordingly. Currently, as it stands when I'm videoing this, the servo is not going to work because I don't have a spare potentiometer. I do have a gimbal stick adaptation, so 3-axis gimbal adapter, but that requires a pot, and I don't have a spare pot on the transmitter, so I'm not quite sure I'm going to do that. But the idea would be that would do the head twist on top from that servo. I mean that's pretty much it. There's not really much else to it. Ignore that. That's the IMU from the original coding, Arduino coding. I need to pry that off. It's only hot glued on. As I said, it's all going to be done with that from now on. And that'll probably end up sitting there in all likelihood. See it? It will end up sitting there more than likely because that's the flattest point, and that would always be the point that is always level. You know, put it here, that's all over the place. Put it down here, you know, batteries could be interfering with it. So that's probably the most logical point to put it. So yeah, so what's changed on here? Well, these need recentering. If it's going RC, I need to change them back to the center, so i.e. 1500 microseconds is, you know, straight up for this. That won't take me long. These need tightening up. They're wobbly as hell. In fact, one of them came off just before I started filming. And I need to replace this green gimbal. Because you can see here, it's wobbly. Bearings are coming out. It's held in with electrical tape to create a bit of friction for a tight fit. It's awful. So I've printed a bigger one that will sit in. You know, takes up more or less the whole space. Hopefully the bearings fit. I did measure it, but I might have been slightly off. But anyway, I can drill that out slightly. So yeah, hopefully that will fix that. So that's the next thing to do, is change this gimbal over. Change this. Yeah, it's a gimbal, isn't it? Change the gimbal over. The only other thing I really want to do is, can you see this here, this 45-degree bracket? I think I've got two spare ones, and I want to put them here to create a bit more. I mean, that's fairly tight, don't get me wrong, that's fairly strong, but just a bit more strength there. Just from memory, when it was driving, this had a lot of flex in it. Saying that, and now it has no flex. I don't know where the flex has gone. Weird. Okay, anyway, I might not need them then. So yeah, that's the drive. So in order to get this off, I've got to take these bits out, to take the bar out, to then unscrew these. It's going to take a while, so that'll be the plan. I'm going to get this RMU off as well. There we go. Done. It's a spare RMU for something else. Yeah, so that's the drive. It's not a bad drive, don't get me wrong. I mean, if it wasn't a bad drive, I wouldn't be using it. It just needs tweaking, and this is a good opportunity to move it to RC. So yeah, I'll get on with that. I'll change the gimbal over. So see you in a bit. Just a quick update. Turns out when I sold my old BB8 T&M sphere, I sold the Allen key for the screws, because these are all Imperial screws, and they use a 764 Allen key. Now, because I'm in the UK, we don't really use Imperial that much, and most Imperial sets don't come with 764. Luckily, John had one, so I nicked his hex driver thing out of this pack here, and I got a new Allen key on the way. Anyway, in the meantime, I've managed to remove this off this part of the gimbal off. I've had to take pretty much the entire thing apart, but anyway, so that's in, and yes, it's grey. I showed you white earlier. There's the white one. So Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, Mark 4. The holes are now big enough, I hope. So that's in, and that seems to be spinning quite freely. I've just got to try and get the bearings off here, and it's really stiff. Might try and put some WD-40 in there and see. You can see here that yes, the bearings fit, but there was no push friction to them. They just pop back out again. The blocks just wasn't big enough, and I ended up drilling the holes initially to get it all to fit. So yeah, that can go. I'm going to reuse the bar. I'm going to reuse the bearings. I just need to get the bearings off, and it's not having it. Been on there for about 5 years, so I'm not surprised they're stuck. No, it's not having it. I think I know where we're getting them off. Anyway, that's the update for now. So I'm getting there. So that will go back there. Yeah, that'll go back there, and then that'll push that back up there to sit in nicely. So that'll go back there like that, and then the crossbar will go back through there. Yeah, once I get these bearings off, so I'll get on with that. Right, the bearings are stuck on here. I don't have any more of this rod, so I need to rescue both the bearings and the rod. So I've drilled a hole in here, placed a washer, about to place some WD-40 in there just to loosen it up, and then I'm going to whack it very gently on top to try and push the rod back through the bearings. If this doesn't work, I am going to have to order a new rod and new bearings. So wish me luck. I like it when something works the way it's supposed to. That was 3 hits and some WD-40. So back on with the build after I've cleaned it up a bit. Right, I've got the gimbal remounted, so those bearings are in there with a threaded rod, a 1/4" rod that goes in about yay deep, same on both sides. The bearings there on the flanges on the inside, so it shouldn't push out this time. And I pushed these bearings in, so they are tight, they are not coming out. So I'm hoping that Mark IV is the gimbal that works. And then I've just got to push this rod back through, which could be insane because I just had to use WD-40 to get the rod out. I might give it a good clean first, see if that helps. But anyway, getting there, and then I can remount that all back together. Alright, there we are. That's on, and that was I put the pole back into the jig and just hit it with the rubber mallet again until it's gone through, and that is 0.1 mil off, being 74.2 mil either side. Hang on, let me just double check that. 74.2. Yeah, it's as accurate as I can get it anyway. So it's 74.3 on one side and 74.2, 74.1 on the other side. That's about as close as I'm going to be able to get it. I think another batch of the hammer would just turn it too far the other way. So that is the head tilt. So I just need to mount that back into here now. So we're putting these back in. Why does nothing fit properly? Yeah, putting these back in and then reattaching it back to there, and then that's the gimbal done. Right, the gimbal's back on, screwed back together. That's back on. Yeah, that's back on. Yeah, so the gimbal's on and it seems to move okay. Yeah, that's... Sorry, you can't really see if I do it that way. It's doing what it should be doing. I'm going to recenter these servos next, and then yeah, recenter the servos, and then take the servo horns off and make the neutral position the default position when it hits yeah, when it gets to 1500 on the servo tester. And I'm not sure there's anything else at the moment. Just going around checking screws are done up tight. And they might shake themselves loose. Most of them seem okay. Yeah, servo tester. Servo's back on and they're centered, so that's now 1500 microseconds. So center. Just do that back up. Obviously, they have moved a little bit while I was tightening them up, but the whole servo horn moved with it, so I know that actually, if I tell the servo tester to go back to 1500, that's exactly where I need it to be. Need a better way to do that. So that's on, that's 1500, so that's now as upright as I can get it. And this servo here, I can center at a later date. Gimbal's done. They're done. I need to put the power adapter back there, so the power switch back in. Which side it was on. I don't think it really matters. So that needs to go back in, so here for argument's sake. And then the next step will be to mount, put the batteries back on top. Actually, no, sorry. The next step will be to mount those things, and they go here. Yeah, so they'll sort of screw in like that. That's the plan. Whether that works or not, I don't know, but we'll see. And obviously the battery will sit in there like that. So yeah, let's get the power adapter back in, and then we'll try screwing that in. See how we get on. Actually, before I put it back in, that's what I'm using. Just starting to screw these in. I forgot to account for the angle of the bracket when putting this in, so the corner keeps hitting this. So I'm just filing this away to create like a bit of a groove on both sides, and then that should screw in. It looks like it's going to work. Made a bit of a stupid mistake. When I bent the aluminium to put the batteries on, I had this block the wrong way around. Although I am questioning how I designed it now, because I did design it a while ago. So I did it that way around, which is enough clearance for the motors and the frame, but there's not enough clearance for the screws that are holding the frame together. So basically the frame can't slide between the batteries. If I turn it that way around, there's enough clearance. It now means that these are too tight, so I need to flatten these back out and then rebend them. Or I've got plenty of aluminium, just do it again. Yeah, so effectively I need to move the batteries out a tiny bit. I mean, basically that far, I think. So I mean, the frame's not too far off, like that, and then that should sit on like so. Yes, that's now resting on the batteries, which is probably a little too low, but anyway, that's how it should be. So yeah, I need to adjust these brackets, which I can't see on camera. Hang on. Okay. I need to adjust these brackets so that, again, holding the batteries in, but not. So I've got that bit of clearance. So it's 9:10 at night. I think this will be a tomorrow job. I need to do it outside, really. But from your point of view, it will be like that. So yeah, I think that's it for now for me today, and I'll pick this up in the morning. Okay then, I've got these bits on. I was going to bolt them in with more of these, these bolts. Just wasn't having it, so I just used some wood screws. The only thing that has happened is, and this is an error on my design skills, is that if I tip it this way, you see the little triangle bit that's supposed to go in between the bars? Turns out it's not actually attached to this, it's just printed on top, and the only thing that was holding it together was the layer adhesion between the two layers. So it wasn't actually built into it. I thought I had. So as I was screwing the screws in, the thing cracked off, so now that's being glued back down with epoxy. So yeah, the battery casings are on. I suppose battery casings, electronics boards, whatever you want to call them. I've redone the aluminium bars. It's now wider, and it gives me a bit more space between here to account for the screws. And it's not quite centered, and I can't quite work out why. That's because the battery's not actually flat against the bar. Okay, that's a bit more centered now. Anyway, so that's back together. I put the power switch back in, and this is, well, it was centered. I think I've knocked it a bit, but as soon as I put a servo tester on it, it'll right it back up. So at this point, I've screwed. There's a screw here. Sorry, the threaded bar that goes all the way through. This is the top part where it screws into. and there's not much gap, but it's enough to hold it down. So that's now all together. The idea would then be I take this screw off and I lift off the whole thing, and these white bits come with it. I'm not going to do that yet because obviously I'm waiting for the resin to dry. And yeah, we're nearly there. Very nearly there. I need to put the wheels back on. I don't know if it's worth me trying to have another go at redoing them, but yeah, the wheels just need to go back on and tighten back up. They've always been a bit wobbly. I mean, I could. Part of me wants to take the bearing off so they have more. They sit further down on here, but then that screw hits these bolts, and also the bearing there. It gives it a bit of height, but also helps the wheel turn. It's a tough one. Maybe some washers, just enough to get it above the height of that. That's actually the bearing is getting the height above that, so I wouldn't gain anything. Okay, I'll pop those back on, and then it's building the wiring harness for the battery to hook it into here, and then from here it will connect to that, which I think is going to end up mounting like here or something. It's pretty much where it was originally. So I'll mount that there, and the saber tooth will probably end up going here for argument's sake. The receiver will mount on here, probably that way around. Sit flat like that. And then when I eventually get it, the climber board's going to go here. Yeah, climber board's going to go here. I've also tried to get some speakers on here somehow. I might end up mounting the speakers on the front of these, or even just sort of tucking them in here. I wonder if I could even mount them on the wheels. Need a slip ring in there, wouldn't I? Okay, yeah, and because of that, I'd also need need to get an amp and a ground loop isolator on there. So it's actually starting to become quite crowded again. I was trying to avoid that. So maybe you can tell I'm making this up as I go along. Maybe the saber tooth gets mounted on there. Except for the screw holes don't match the location, so I need a mounting board. And okay, maybe the saber tooth here. Same problem. Okay, it's going to be a puzzle. I mean, the ground loop isolator can sit up in there, or even in there. Yeah, that's a puzzle that I need to worry about at the moment. So next thing is just get the wheels back on, and then half tempted to just try hooking the receiver. No, because I need to have the mounted. Right, okay. We'll get the wheels back on, and that's the last structural piece left to do. Right, I've done a bit of playing around of placing stuff, and this is what I've come up with. So I'm ditching that. As good as that would be to have on it, it's just not enough room on a BB8 for it. So I'm going to chance it with a single inline fuse, 30 amp fuse, and that'll be coming off. And let me just move this up a bit. Try to turn this around carefully. And that'll be coming straight off here. So imagine, there you go, 30 amp fuse coming off there. For power distribution itself, I'm going to use, spin it around so you can see it. I'm going to use these instead, the Wago connectors. So I need power going in, negative going in, and I need one to go to the saber tooth, one to go to the amplifier for when I have the speakers put in. So that's 2 lots of 12 volts. And then eventually when I have a Kyber board, that'll be another set of 12 volts, and that's going to sit around the back here, shouldn't it? And I'm going to have some power going in here, regulated down to 5 volts, going to the receiver, and then into the receiver will be plugged the servos. I've tested it with Chopper's Kyber board, because that's not yet gone in. So if I just spin him back around carefully. So, whoa. So I've got Chopper's Kyber board and sort of placed it on there. So that's roughly the sort of amount of space I've got. I probably won't be able to use the printed box. I mean, I do have the option of maybe mounting something on the side here, but I think by that point I'm probably getting a bit desperate. So it's just enough room. So despite the fact getting rid of the Padawan, I seem to have not really gained anything, but never mind. Yeah, so that's kind of the way I'm thinking at the moment. I still got to get some speakers on here, so if I grab Chop speakers or Chopper, keep loosening all his parts to avoid. Oh yeah, you need to get a ground loop isolator on here as well. So one like that, and I'm thinking that might have to sort of sit in there. I'll order another one of those in a minute, because I don't want to nick Choppers again, because I already nicked one for R2. So these are the speakers that are going in Chopper. Really, I'm thinking, where can I mount? I mean, I could put one there, but it's on metal. I know it's aluminium, but still. The other option is trying to mount it. No, maybe not. On here, but again, it's on aluminium. I mean, maybe they get mounted there. I mean, I don't know. I think I might have to look through some people's build documents and see where they mounted speakers. I mean, I'm thinking already these speakers are too big. I might have to go back down the route of like I had originally in BB8's head. Still one hanging around. Just to get out all the cables. So that's a TT transducer. So that could safely mount onto, I don't know, it could even mount there if needs be, and then this thing becomes the speaker, as it will. It does mean there's only one speaker, which probably doesn't matter because it had one speaker originally and it didn't seem to make much difference. Yeah, you can still hear it. And the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking that's probably the route I'm going to go. The other thing I have to try and squeeze into here is going to be lighting. So with a hamster sphere, you can't have the body lights like you would do normally on a axle drive, because this is going to run over the wires and break them. You've got nowhere to put a battery in that as well. So I believe what they did for the red Carpet Droid, in fact, no, I know what they did for the red Carpet Droid because I asked, was, although it was axle drive, they had something very similar to this. It's very simple. It was using bike cables to move things around. But the ball was lit up, as in like the logic lights on the outside of the ball were lit up. Turns out they just wrapped the thing in LED strips. So it's just glowing white, and then they use coloured lenses on the ball. I know Dave, who designed this drive, is doing that on his. He's also building the Vonjet sphere. So I'm thinking that might be the way to go, and I really just wrap LED strips around things that aren't going to move. So I'm thinking like these support arms here. Maybe on the head mast. It depends how much it moves around. Thinking that ought to then give enough light, and then as the ball rolls under something or onto the floor, rolls under, it gets away from the light, kind of gives that a blinking effect. I'm kind of thinking out loud here. now. I'm rambling and thinking out loud. But this is the plan I'm going for at the moment. And do you know what? I am going to keep that. Yeah, I am going to keep that. I'll keep that. Make sure there's enough room for a Kyber board when I eventually get one. I'm half tempted to actually mount it there, and it doesn't matter, it's on metal. No, I can't, because if you lift this frame off, then that needs to, so it's going to have to be mounted onto the plastic. Right, okay, so yeah, that's the route I'm going. That is the route I'm going. So next up, it's hooking the batteries back up to this box, so I've got power flowing back to something, and then from there I can create power cables going into the Wago connectors, and then let's get power into the receiver and the Sabertooth initially, because I don't need that yet because I don't have anything to control the sounds with. So let's give Chopper back his Kyber board. No, sorry, I'll run power through to there anyway, because it saves me having to go back through and sort out cabling again later. Just have it all there ready. And then I think I'm good to go. I can start just testing. Yeah. Sorry, that was a bit of a ramble, wasn't it? I'm just trying to go through my thought process and trying to work out how things are going to work. I think this is the way I'm going to go. So yeah, I'll do that. Right, okay, it's taken me a few evenings and I think I'm there. The wiring definitely is tidy up. This is just connected. So we've got the amplifier here for eventually when the speakers get connected, and then the Kyber board when I get one will go here. The receiver you can just see there, and if I spin them around, yeah, you can see it a bit better. So plugged into here we have these two servos. This servo is plugged into number 5, and then the Sabertooth is plugged into 3 and 4. So serial 1 is going to 3, serial 2 is going to number 4, the ground is going into ground at number 4. Receiver's being powered by a buck converter, which just done that. Let me just quickly fix that. That's better. So we're going to an inline fuse here from the battery. Buck converter is going to the receiver, and we're using the Wago connectors. You can't quite see it. Wago connectors here. So buck converter, Wago connectors, inline fuse. I've configured the stabilizer eventually. It took a while, so I got that working. So if we just power up BB8, there we go. So you can see it's flashing blue. Now it's gone green. That means it's stabilized. And on the controller, this switch here I've set up to turn stabilization off. So if I just turn, you see the head moved like that. So stabilization is now on. So if I do this, don't know how we go to see, but you see the servos moving, the head's trying to stay upright. The only thing I haven't got right is if I twist, tilt left or right, it actually tilts into the tilt. It turns into the tilt, which I can't reverse. I don't know why yet. I'll have to look at that. But anyway, so that controls the neck. That controls the that controls the head. That controls the motors. So we'll start with the motors. I'm going to move this one. So now going forward, now going backwards. Conscious about the wires might get tangled. And then right, and then left. And on the other head, which try and do it, show you on the camera. There's more backward movement and forward movement. But anyway, that's that. And then moving the pot here, so at the moment it's centered. Don't know how we'll be able to see it if I tilt up slightly more. So watch that. It's not going to do it now. Why are you not doing that? Right, let's repower BB8. I wonder if this is running out of power. But there we go. Moving the pot. And that'll twist the head on top of the body. So yeah, this momentary switch activates the self-test mode to readjust the leveling. These buttons are going to will be on for the Kyber board, and that changes mode 1 or 2 on these buttons here. That's been sacrificed to make this work. So eventually, when I get the Kyber board, these buttons will be a different resistance value on that potentiometer, and that will make a sound or do a light sequence. So yeah, it's looking good. There we go. So I'm reading 8.4 volts. Yeah, the batteries need charging again. They're old batteries, so it might need to be new batteries. And then, so we've got that going into the. So this will go into the Kyber board. Well, actually go through a ground loop isolator and then into a Kyber board. So at the moment he's going to have no sound, but he moves. It's an important thing. I think the trim's gone. It's not quite as soon as gone. Okay, we'll have to reset things. But anyway, yeah, so that should be 0 and it's moving. So I think to be on the safe side, we will just power BB8 off. Right. So as I said, the wiring needs tidy up. It might sort out some of the issues I've got because these wires are way too long. But yeah, it's looking good. This is a lot more. This video has been a lot longer than I was intending to spend on the drive. But it's mainly because it was a rebuild. It kind of feels worth spending the time going through what I've done and why. It's working a lot better than it ever did when we were using the Padawan. So I'm really pleased with that. And then once the ball is built, we can actually put it in there and see how we get on. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. It's all working. Just need to tidy wiring up and hot glue things down so they don't move around so much. But yeah, I'm pleased with that. Well, that went really well. It's taken me 5 nights and most of the day to do it, but I have a drive I'm proud of. The RC works brilliantly. More on that in a second. I've hooked some speakers up, they're little tweeters. Turn the volume up, and obviously it's a tweeter. You turn the volume up too high, the music starts to crackle. We'll see how well that performs inside a big plastic ball. May have to revisit that. Anyway, they're in. I tested it with playing choppers noises through it just to see how well it would go. What else? The batteries are completely shot. During the building, even though I charged them up, they were dropping right down to 9 volts, 9.5 volts. Yeah, the charger says they're charged, it's not charging them, but they're reading 9 volt. Yeah, they're bad. New batteries. Plugged in a 12 volt little scooter battery that I had hanging around, and that worked fine, and actually everything was working beautifully after that point. So RC, yeah. Plugged in the Sabertooth. I was mixing on the transmitter or throttle and rudder, which is for the motors, and mixing the Sabertooth is also mixing the 2 motors to give the differential drive, and the 2 are cancelling each other out. So I was pushing forward and only one wheel turning, go left and right, the other wheel starts turning. Odd. Turn off the mixing on the transmitter, works fine. So there's a mental note for you. Don't put mixing on the transmitter, let the Sabertooth do it for you. Anything else? Batteries, tweeters, Sabertooth, transmitter. That's it. Yeah, I'm really pleased with this drive. It looks a lot better. I look at it and I'm proud of it. Before I looked at it, I feel like I bodged this somewhere. It was very much kind of make it as I go along. As I mentioned before in the video, I'm going to call this the Krayt Drive, as in the Krayt Dragon. Krayt Dragon. Helpful when you had to say it, wouldn't it? So yeah, it's the Krayt Drive. Probably because it's going to catch on fire. And no one really knows what it looks like, so it can be anything it wants. Yeah, so as I said, really pleased with that. And it's moving on to the ball next. And then the heads, and then the head electronics. And painting it all. I mean, really, there's not that much of BB8, really. I do need to put I need to get hold of a Kyber board. As soon as I can afford it, I'll put a Kyber board in, and that'll sort the sounds out. And also send the signals up to the dome to do the light sequences. And then that'll be that. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. It took longer than I expected. It took a lot longer than I expected, but the wiring, since the last section of that video, I've done the wiring, so it's all tidied up. My version is tidied up. It's all tidied. All the bits are glued down, so they're not moving around. I've put the transmitter wire in the right place, so it's actually not going to keep going. Telemetry lost. Telemetry recovered. Telemetry lost. Telemetry recovered. Yeah. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry it was a long episode, longer than I intended. But thank you. I will see you again soon. Bye.